With Trump doing all he's doing, with all the cuts and the threats of benefit cuts and everything like that, does there become some point over the next period of time in which Democrats feel that the cuts that are being made and are being threatened are so harmful that this fight is not worth it? Good morning, I'm Jake Sherman, and welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, the latest on the government shutdown. Number two, how Wesley Hunt scrambles the Texas Senate race. And number three, a new January 6th controversy as Pam Bondi is heading to Capitol Hill. Let's get into it. We are 1 week into the government shutdown. Today is also the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attack on Israel. The president is meeting with Idan Alexander, a former hostage in Gaza, today at the White House. There is no resolution in sight to the government funding crisis. Yesterday evening, I guess it was, the Senate rejected the Republican CR and the Democratic CR. Once again, this is the fifth time. For good measure, we've stopped sending out alerts on this because it's pretty predictable that the Senate is going to reject these. And in a sign of probably not a great sign for Senate Republicans, Angus King of Maine said he might start voting against the Republican CR. He didn't do that yesterday, but he is threatening to do so. Now, earlier yesterday also, the President Donald Trump said that he's having conversations with Democrats over the shutdown. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries said plainly it's not true. Jeffries said there's been radio silence from the White House since their meeting last week. It was quite a bizarre episode. Trump said he would make a health care deal with Democrats, and I'll be honest with you, this is something that Democrats saw as a sign that Trump is starting to get nervous about the shutdown and about the impact of the shutdown. I'm not sure whether that's true. I can't put myself in the president's mind. I understand what Democrats are saying. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune are showing absolutely no signs of caving. Johnson at least is doing daily news conferences. He did one yesterday for a while. He's doing another one today on this 1-week anniversary. I don't see the way out at this moment. Democrats aren't caving. Republicans aren't going to have a healthcare conversation. With the government shutdown, Trump is, not talking to Democrats. There's no meetings between Republicans and Democrats. And I think I mentioned this yesterday on the podcast, and we wrote about this morning. My question was, with Trump doing all he's doing, with all the cuts and the threats of benefit cuts and everything like that, does there become some point over the next period of time in which the juice is not worth the squeeze, in which Democrats feel that the cuts that are being made and are being threatened are so harmful that this fight is not worth it? And we didn't find any sign of that in the Senate Democratic caucus yesterday. Ruben Gallegos said if we don't get ACA tax credits, more than 100,000 Arizonans are easily going to double their premiums on health insurance. That's painful and permanent. We don't want to see federal employees hurt, but this guy has already been randomly hurting federal employees all year and using them as hostages. So what else do you do? So that kind of says it all. The Democrats are pretty comfortable in this fight. Republicans are pretty comfortable in this fight. So on we go into the second week of the shutdown. Another interesting dynamic, Marjorie Taylor Greene unexpectedly came out in favor of extending the Obamacare subsidies. She said in an evening post on X that she's absolutely disgusted that health insurance premiums will double if the tax credits expire this year. I don't think MTG is a harbinger of anything, almost ever, on any policy whatsoever. But it does signal to me that the leadership might not have the greatest grasp of where Republicans are in the Obamacare subsidy fight. And we won't know since Johnson's held the House out for weeks at a time. We'll have no idea whether that's the case. But it is a data point that we will keep in mind as we head toward the next couple months. Because remember, once they fund the government, they have another several weeks until they have the next government funding deadline, theoretically, if the deadlines hold. And in that time period, they're going to talk about an Obamacare deal. There could be another CR. So we're going to be dealing with this stuff for the next several months. Number 2 story of the morning, how Wesley Hunt has scrambled the Texas Senate race. If you thought the Texas Senate race couldn't be more of a mess, you're in for a surprise. Wesley Hunt getting in the race has really made a further mess of the race between now Hunt, John Cornyn, and Ken Paxton. This is guaranteeing effectively that this is heading toward a May runoff. John Thune said he's worried about Hunt's candidacy, creating a messy primary, but Thune said Cornyn's in great shape and hopes the veteran Republican senator could now get Donald Trump's endorsement. I don't think Trump is going to endorse at least until December, if then. To be honest with you, because he wants to see what the White House wants to see what the race looks like by the time the ballot closes in December. And the NRSC is obviously for Cornyn, but Cornyn said Trump is not ready to endorse. Here's something worth considering. The White House has pushed people out of races. They pushed Mike Lawler out of the gubernatorial race in New York, Bill Huizenga out of the Michigan Senate race, and they did not push Hunt out of the Texas Senate race. I don't think they pushed him in, but they didn't push him in, but they also didn't wave him off. So listen, this was in a holding pattern, this race until now. One Nation, the nonprofit that's aligned with John Thune and a pro-Cornyn super PAC, has spent $20 million trying to close the gap with Paxton. Paxton has not spent at all whacking Cornyn, and that's probably to conserve resources, but Paxton and his allies feel confident they could take Cornyn on in a two-man race. Hunt is trying to give everyone an alternative. He thinks people don't like Cornyn, people don't like Paxton, and they'll break toward him. I'm not sure that's true or not true. That's just his theory. The NRSC and other people have said that Hunt's entrance into this race is a vanity project. I'm not, listen, I don't know how. There's polls that say that Hunt is going to pull from Cornyn. There's polls that say Hunt is going to pull from Paxton. So I'm not sure how this is going to break. There should be polling in the next month or so on what Hunt does to the race. We'll have to see what that looks like. Number 3 story of the morning, a new January 6th controversy as Pam Bondi comes to the Hill today. The revelation that FBI agents pulled the phone records of 8 Republican senators and 1 House Republican as part of the January 6th investigation set off a new controversy as Pam Bondi is coming to the Senate Judiciary Committee today. There's an internal FBI document that Chuck Grassley got that showed that the FBI obtained cell phone records for Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, Ron Johnson, Dan Sullivan, Bill Hagerty, Tommy Tuberville, Cynthia Lummis, Marsha Blackburn, and Congressman Mike Kelly. The FBI and DOJ looked into whether Republican lawmakers had a role in Trump's false elector scheme following the 2020 election. It is highly controversial for the administration to be seizing records and looking at records from members of Congress, elected members of Congress. And there's no doubt that Bondi, although she was an attorney general at the time, obviously, she will be asked about this today. And with that, leave us a rating and review. You can subscribe to Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day, everybody, and stay safe.